Salutations everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Yes, I know it's been a while since I've put out a video. Well, real life stuff happens, and on top of that, I had a bit of a creative slump, so to speak. So my apologies for the severe lack of content on my channel. Happy Sunday, by the way. Just to let you guys know, Preacher final episode is tonight, and I couldn't be any more depressed. Speaking of which, I do hope to put together a video talking about the final episode of Preacher, and as well as I would like to do a review of the final season overall. And then I think eventually I'll probably add some more content in related to Preacher. Even though the show is coming to an end, I still think there's more content that I can tap into to bring you guys, such as, well, as you can see, I have the comics. I've read the comics. I figured, hey, maybe it would be a good time to do a comic to show comparison and what have you. So yeah, I figured that would probably be a good idea for my channel, is to do some additional Preacher content. I'm not sure yet. Don't hold my feet to the fire, but it's just an idea that I'm throwing around. We shall see. It all depends on how creative I'm feeling, if you know what I mean. Now, with all that out of the way, I figured now's a good time to get into the topic for tonight's video. And on today's program, we are here to talk about George Lucas, Bob Iger, and, well, the muck that is surrounding Disney Star Wars. Just to give you guys a little recap, or in case if you missed it, there's been some leaks to Bob Iger's autobiography, and in his autobiography, he mentions about George Lucas and the deal that he made with George Lucas on getting the rights to Star Wars. And as it turns out, Bob Iger revealed that George Lucas was not happy with The Force Awakens. In fact, Bob Iger dropped a rather massive bombshell by saying that, according to his words, George Lucas said that he felt betrayed by how Disney has been treating his intellectual property. Now, I'm sure you're probably rather shocked by such a huge revelation, but to be perfectly honest, myself and many other people, especially in the Phantom Menace community, are really not all that surprised. In fact, I think it's safe to say that a good chunk of us have suspected that George was not entirely too happy with Disney's direction in Star Wars. So to add my 2 cents to this topic, like I said, I'm really not all that surprised in George's feelings, and in all honesty, he really should not have sold his baby, his IP, to such a large corporation. To be fair, Bob Iger did assure him that Star Wars would be taken care of, as well as Kathleen Kennedy even came out in public record and said to George that, hey, no problem, we're going to take care of Star Wars for you. And, well, as you know, exactly what happened. I think this is pretty much a cautionary tale for anyone who has fictional material that they have a copyright on. I think that this is really a lesson learned that you might want to be cautious as to who you sell your IP to, because you really can't trust anyone anymore, especially when it comes to executive producers or people, bigwigs in the Hollywood industry. You really can't be sure if your IP is truly going to be taken care of. And if you truly care about preserving the integrity of your creative property, it probably would be wise to not sell it to anybody, regardless of what that price is, if you know what I mean. But there was one thing about what Bob Iger said in his autobiography in regards to this whole situation with George Lucas that I find especially troubling. When he mentioned about how when he presented The Force Awakens to George and George was not happy with it, you could really sense the vitriol and the salt in Bob Iger's response about how George was just not pleased or not accepting that they've put all this effort into it and they were so pressured into putting this movie together. Thinking about it, I have no doubt in my mind that that's why Disney has been treating George Lucas's character so horribly. I mean, everybody knows that Luke Skywalker got the short end of the stick and he got eviscerated in The Last Jedi before he was killed off. And reading Bob Iger's words about how bitter he felt when George rejected The Force Awakens, I couldn't help but sense that I think that this was planned. Ever since that meeting, I think, with George, when George, in a sense, rejected Disney's direction of Star Wars, I think that gave Bob Iger the decision to say, okay, well, if that's how you feel about what we're doing, well, then we're gonna treat your characters like garbage, kill them off, and we're not going to include any of your characters in any of our future projects. I think that would explain, as I said before, why some of the characters, especially Luke Skywalker, was treated so poorly in the sequel trilogy, and why we don't see any original characters in some of the other advertisements from Disney, like Galaxy's Edge, for instance. Because I know I've seen the rumor going around where the reason why they don't have the original characters at Galaxy's Edge is because that would require Disney to pay residuals to George. And I don't think that that's necessarily false, but I really think that this is really a big FU to George. Like, I know The Last Jedi overall, fans took it as a big FU, and I completely understand why. But to be perfectly honest, I think The Last Jedi and the way that Disney has been going in with the direction of Star Wars, I think overall was a big FU to George, because George rejected Disney Star Wars. It really does add a whole new meaning to the term "let the past die, kill it if you have to," if you know what I mean. And those are just my thoughts on this story involving Bob Iger, George Lucas, and the direction of Star Wars. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on the matter, if you agree with me or if you disagree with me. If you would like to contribute, by all means, leave a comment down below, and thanks for watching. And until next time, dear friends, this is Cynical Lindsay, signing off.